Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Ring. I'm president of FAMM. Thanks for joining us for another edition of our Heart to Heart series. Today, we're going to revisit the topic of federal home confinement. There's roughly 4,500 people across the country who have been home for several months, some a year or more, who have reintegrated into their communities after being sent home from federal prison on home confinement to avoid being infected or killed by COVID-19 when it was sweeping through the federal prisons. These people were sent home with the idea that they'd serve the remainder of their sentences on home confinement, usually with an ankle bracelet. And in the final days of the Trump administration, the Department of Justice's Office of Legal Counsel, known as OLC, issued a memo that told the Bureau of Prisons that these people had to come back to prison when the pandemic hits. Since that memo was released, FAMM and others have been fighting to get that memo reversed, to get that policy reversed, so that these people who have done everything we've asked of them, who have rejoined society, reintegrated with their families, started jobs, started college in some cases, bought homes, can stay home so long as they're following the rules. As of yet, we have not received any confirmation that the Biden administration is ready to keep them home, and so we continue to fight. And so today we're going to talk to a member of Congress who's leading the charge in this issue, as well as 3 people who would be implicated or affected by the memo and would have to return to prison unless something changes. And our first guest is Representative Bonnie Watson Coleman from the 12th District of New Jersey. She has organized a letter among members of the House of Representatives to the White House and into the Attorney General to get this memo changed. And one, Congressman, I want to thank you for your work. Thank you for your effort. And just ask you, when did you first become aware of the OLC memo in this issue?
I don't know the date of my first because I was aware of it and I immediately told my staff I wanted to make a statement on it, and I wanted to follow it up with a letter to the Secretary of State, and then we ultimately sent a letter to Merrick Garland as well. And so if anyone knows the date of my letter and the statement, it happened the night before that I saw the memo on this.
And what did you think when you heard that this was in the works?
I thought that this was another illustration of Trump's bitterness and the evilness of this administration. In addition to this, if you recall, Trump was also trying to ensure that there were some executions completed. And so I thought that this was just bitterness and a further extension of all of the wrong-headed policies that he sort of led through his whole administration, and how he has interfered with the Department of Justice, the Attorney General's office, and other departments that he really just should have not had so much influence over. But there was no rational reason to do this, and I thought that it would disrupt families that were getting themselves back together again. It was unfair. It was unnecessary. We already recognize that we have an over-incarceration in this country that is a huge problem, and our effort should be to decarcerate and make sure that only those that have no alternative because of what they've done should be in any kind of prison.
And have you, I know you organized the letter, and we're grateful for that. Have you heard anything from the administration or gotten any feedback?
No, not heard anything. I know the Senate has members of the Senate desire on both sides of the aisle here that the right thing is done, because there's so much that they're about doing. I don't think that there's been any willing home confinements, and to recognize that the CARE Act did not in any way, shape, or form provide the pathway back into prison after the pandemic is declared over for individuals who've not committed any new crimes.
You cut out a little bit.
I can't hear you.
Okay, you cut out a little bit. I'll just say this. We're going to talk to some families. I just want to, one, thank you for taking time to join us today. Thank you for your effort. And we look forward to continue to working with you to try to get this matter resolved.
Thank you. I'm really pleased to see that I'm not doing this alone. There are lots of members of Congress. I also believe this administration will find its way and make sure that this is not reversed.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for your work.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you. So we're going to invite in Stacey Demers, Gwen Levi, and Miranda McLaren. Thank you for joining us. And we just heard from the congressman. You all know, you alerted us to this. We've been fighting this for a couple months now, and we haven't reached resolution. But for those who are not aware of the issue, I want to introduce them to it and to start with just a little bit of each of your stories. And I'll start with you, Gwen. If you could just tell people about, the sentence you received, and then, when did you go home, and how long have you been home?
I was arrested in 2004 for conspiracy to distribute heroin. I got sentenced in 2006 to 400 months. Excuse me, to 400 months. I began to realize once I got sentenced that I would be in prison for a long time, that I might be there until I was 93 years old if I stayed to the end of my sentence. So I began to figure out how I could make it good, make it something that I could benefit from being there, that it would not be all punishment, that I could maybe make it transformational, that I could make it a renewing process for myself. And that's what I set out to do during the 16 years of my incarceration. I took a lot of programs, I ran a lot of programs, developed some programs, especially working with seniors. I realized early in my incarceration that we were being left behind in the programming and addressing the needs that we had. So I got involved in a lot of programs for seniors. But as years went on and I got denied this and denied that, I kept trying to figure out a way that I could get my sentence reduced. Compassionate release. I got 2015, I had lung cancer. So I just knew that I was going to get compassionate release. But after my chemotherapy and radiation, I was healed from my lung cancer. And I received a letter denying me compassionate release because I no longer fit the criteria of being terminal. So a couple years later, the pandemic comes in. And again, I get another opportunity to apply for home confinement due to the pandemic. And was granted that. And in June 2nd, 2020, I was released on home confinement to my family, a loving mother, 11 sisters and brothers, 4 boys. The opportunity to be able to reunite with my family, to be able to come back into my community and be and partake in what's going on in my community. I live in the state of Maryland. There are a lot of issues with our penal system here. So I've gotten involved with some criminal justice advocacy agencies here, organizations, and I've been trying to tell my story in a way that will help someone else. And I feel as though I can become a better part of I can become a part of my community, someone who can contribute.
Mm-hmm.
I've spent the last 10 months, 11 months really, becoming an advocate for people who are returning home, for especially women. I've joined some organizations. I've taken some training. I wanted to see what I could do. I'm in the process now of taking peer-to-peer support training so that I can become someone who can help the ladies when they come out. I've taken a contact tracing course from Johns Hopkins University, which will allow me to do contact tracing for the COVID. virus. I feel as though this opportunity that I've been given to come home, that I have to make the best of it. And so therefore I'm trying to do as much as I can. And then I wake up one morning and I hear that, you can go back once this pandemic is over. Am I to pray that the pandemic doesn't end?
Mhm.
I don't know.
How much time would you have left if you had to go back to prison?
I got my sentence reduced, thank you, in 2019. So no longer do I have to face 2033. My sentence has been reduced to 2025. So I would have to be in prison until March of 2025 if I was to be sent back.
Gotcha. I'm going to come back to you. Stacy, I want to bring you in. Can you tell us, what was your sentence? And what was your what was the offense you were convicted of, your sentence, and then when did you come home on home confinement?
I was sentenced for 10 years on marijuana. They said conspiracy to distribute, aiding and abetting. And my out date is July 25th of 2024. I've been in since January of 16. And when I was at the camp, when the pandemic took place, they came up and they told us, the warden and the AW and some other people I didn't even know, came up and they said that everybody was going home. And then they came back, I don't even think it was a week later, and told us that nobody was going. It was an up and down. And then they came back, said some were going, and then they said just medical was going, and it was just a roller coaster. And it was literally kind of like this that's going on right now. It's like you're on that roller coaster and you're just going up, 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 and all of a sudden you're just plummeting to the earth and praying to God you don't hit the earth,
Mm-hmm.
And
how long have you been home now?
I was let out January 29th of 2020, and I'm not home. I'm in part of Albany right now. My home is still 3 to 3.5 hours from here. I live up on the Quebec border, and
Okay.
So I'm still. That's one of the things that I've been trying to do, is get home, because I want to be with my family, as everybody does.
Are you hearing what's your supervision like now that you're on home? Are you free to come and go as you please, or what are your restrictions?
Absolutely not. I have to put in, if I want to go anyplace, I have to put in what they call an itinerary, and I have to have it approved. I have an ankle monitor, and I have to have it approved to be able to go anyplace. And when I leave here, I have to call from the home phone, tell them I'm leaving. When I get there, I use my cell phone to tell them I'm there. When I leave there, I have to call and tell them I'm leaving there, and wherever I go next. And then when I get back here, I have to call them again and tell them that I'm back.
Yeah. I think Miranda's back.
I mean,
You're cutting out, Stacy. Let me bring in Miranda. Miranda, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you just tell us a little bit about what your sentence was, how long you served, and when you got released on home confinement?
Okay, my sentence was, I got sentenced in May 2019 for conspiracy to aid and abet with intent to distribute crystal methamphetamine. I got sentenced to a 60-month sentence, and I surrendered July 25th, 2019. And I surrendered to Bryan Federal Prison Camp in Bryan, Texas. And I left Bryan, and I'm having really bad connection, so I apologize. But I
Yeah.
left Brian in February of 2020, going to Danbury, Connecticut. Am I cutting out?
Just a little bit. Yeah. Can you? I can hear you though.
Let me see if I can move around. Because I'm at work in this warehouse. But I left Brian in February 2020, going to Danbury, Connecticut. And when I made it to Danbury FSL, I was there from February 2020 until February 2nd, 2021.
All right. You're cutting out a little bit. Let me bring in Gwen. Hey, Gwen, I want to ask you about the sort of restrictions on your freedom. I mean, I know you were nodding along with Stacy. I think you're in the same boat with an ankle monitor
Yeah,
and itinerary.
yeah. Ankle monitor, itinerary has to be approved. Constant phone checks. I had to have a landline and a cell phone. My restrictions are, you know, recently I read a article in the Marshall Project that talked about people who were on parole, and I think even people on parole have it a little better. These ankle monitors are, it's like you're it's like you're an animal almost, you know, and you have a tracking device on, so
Yeah.
it tracks everywhere you go, and I can understand that, and I accept it because it's still better than being inside the prison walls. But the restrictions are such that we are just that. We are confined in our homes. We are not free. We are not, we're still under constant supervision. And therefore, the monitoring that is done is such that it's even greater than being in prison. So why send us back to prison? You know,
Right.
what would be the benefit of sending us back? We're out here now. We're adding to our communities. We're doing things to better ourselves and reunite our families. Even with all the restrictions that we have, it's an opportunity for us to show what those years or what those months, that some of the ladies only have months, but I've done 16 years. This is the opportunity for me to say what you sent me to prison for has worked. You know, you sent me so that I could come back out into society and be a better person. And I believe that I've accomplished that. I am not just a better person, I'm a different person.
Mm-hmm.
And in spite of all the restrictions, I'm grateful for this opportunity to be home. And I want that to be known, that I am grateful. But freedom is what I seek.
Right.
Freedom is what I seek. And hopefully we can remain on home confinement until we get our freedom.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the people that were released had to be approved. They had to meet certain criteria. You had to be, you know, minimum pattern score, which was the risk assessment score, no disciplinary infractions, no violence in your record, all of these criteria. So the folks that are home, the 4,500 folks, are considered by our justice system to be the lowest of low risk. And not only did they send you home, they've put an ankle monitor on you so that you're not entirely free. So do you think there's any public safety threat to you finishing your sentence on home confinement?
I don't see one, and I don't think anybody can tell me one. You know, like I said, I'm being monitored here more closely than I was inside the prison walls.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can walk the compound. I can't walk up the block.
Right.
I can't walk to the corner of the street that I live on.
Yeah.
You know, so there's no risk. It's only a benefit. You know, the cost of sending me back, the cost of my medical care.
Well, and I'll just say this. I know that there's been over 25,000 people. I think it's 25,000 who were sent to home confinement since the pandemic started. And 140 or so violated the terms of their home confinement. Only 3 were sent back to prison for committing new offenses. 3 out of 25,000. So I think it's clear that the risk is not great. Stacy, I want to talk to you because we talk about 4,500, and then there's 2 of you here, but you're in touch with a bunch of others who are in the same position, are you not? Can you talk
Yes.
about
Yes, I am. Well, when we were in Danbury, we started a Psalms, what we call the Psalm Sisters, and we were praying and doing Psalms every single day. Well, even though we're out, we're still doing it. We're just doing it on the phone. And we're praying for everyone. It doesn't make any difference who it is. We don't even know a lot of people, of course. And and what that is we get on every morning around 7 in the morning and we pray for everybody. So there's a lot of women in both cities there that are dealing with the same things as clearly thousands of people. And I mean, people are working now of society. They're not getting in trouble. Like you said, 3 out of that amount of people has had to go back because they did a new crime. Okay. So you've got people now that are out, they're members of society again. They're back with their families. They're buying homes and vehicles and they're paying their they're going to wind up paying for them to be back there again. I mean, it's bad enough for people that are a little bit older, that have grown children, to go back. But the thing is now you have younger people that have little children, and these, as hard as it is on, look at what it's doing to these babies. Whether it's their babies or in my case, I have grandchildren, and we're just getting to be able to be friends, and be able to be family again. And I mean, to rip people away, that is just, it's not right. It's not fair. I truly understand we need prisons and jails. I understand that. Don't throw people back into society, back into their lives, to rip them right back out of it. That's just it plays with their minds, and it destroys people. It hurts people, and it's not fair.
Let me ask you something.
If we're not causing trouble.
Let me ask you, when you were sent to home confinement, did the warden or your case manager tell you you were going to have to come back?
No, what I heard was once we went on home confinement, we were going to be on home confinement. And that was, and I mean, July 29th, it'll be a year that I've been, and I mean, I just heard about this just a few months ago, that there was a possibility of going back. And I mean, honestly, I haven't even said anything to my family, because for me, I'm trusting the Lord has got this taken care of for all of us, not just me. I would never pray just for myself. And he is going to be the judge in the end, and it's going to be his way, period.
Mm-hmm. Gwen, let me bring you back. I saw you say no as well. You weren't told that there's a chance you'd have to come back?
No, indeed. We were told that we would be on home confinement until our release dates. I don't think anybody anticipated that we would be coming back. I don't think the Justice Department anticipated that we would be, the Bureau of Prisons didn't anticipate that we would be coming back. They don't have a mechanism that will take us back at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm my question that I have right now is, who is ultimately responsible for resending this memo? talking and listening to the Congresswoman, who we appreciate so much, Congresswoman Coleman. We appreciate so much, but I'm getting different thoughts on who ultimately would it be, the president, would it be the Justice Department. I'm told that it's going to be up to the Federal Bureau of Prisons to decide whether to say who ultimately are we to lobby or talk to get them to rescind this memo completely. It's not it shouldn't be a cloud over our head. Like you said, we were vetted, we were given assessments. Our risk levels were very low even while we were inside, and now that we're out, we're doing the right things. We haven't gotten in any more trouble. We're acclimating to our families and our communities. So who do I write to? Who do I talk to? Who do I say, please rescind this memo? Is it the president? Is it the Congress? Is it the Federal Bureau of Prisons? At this point, the buck keeps getting passed.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you about that, because the Justice Department could do this. They could overrule the memo. The president certainly could do it, or they could take other actions. The president could commute the sentences of those people who are out. If they feel like they can't rescind the memo, they could commute your sentences through executive clemency. But they haven't acted. And one thing that has been particularly frustrating for me is that the Bureau of Prisons and others are saying, well, the pandemic emergency is still going on, so don't worry about it. You guys don't have to worry about it. It's not imminent. You're not going home. It may be 3 months, it may be 6 months. Can you talk about that? Because we have tried to impress upon them, with your help, Gwen and Stacy and others, what it's like to have that cloud over your head that all of us, myself included, who have been to prison before, the waiting was the hardest part, that uncertainty and the fear of going in. And so the idea of holding people under that cloud while they say, oh, don't worry because the pandemic's not over. Gwen, can you talk about what that's like?
It's like I woke up this morning, it was bright sunshine. When I walked out of Aliceville FCI in June 2020, it was like, whew, I'm seeing daylight. I'm seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. And then I guess January, February, someone just slammed the door shut. I mean, the light is no longer there. I'm in the tunnel, but the light is no longer there. It's been shut. I can go back to prison. What am I? So I'm just biding time until they send me back.
Right.
What's the purpose of the things that I'm doing to get a future for myself? I'm going to school. I'm taking training classes. I'm getting involved in trying to have some legislations changed to help other women who are incarcerated, to help me who's still incarcerated. And I can never lose sight of the fact that I am still incarcerated. I understand that. But to get this much daylight and then to be sent back and have the door shut again, where's the humanity in that? It boggles my mind. Sometimes I wake up thinking, is this the day that they say, someone comes to say, Miss Eve, I put your hands behind your back, you're going back? It's I don't stress, because I too have a God that I know it has a final and ultimate answer. But it's a constant. It's just there, hanging. It's a cloud. It's just there. It's hanging over my head. It's a shut door. How far? I don't see how far I can go anymore. At one point I see I could go as far as I can see. I can go as far as I want to. I can become as much as I want to. I can advance and become someone again. The door's been shut. Now it looks like I'm going to become a prisoner again, not a returning citizen, which is what I was calling myself. I'm a returning citizen. I'm a returning citizen. You know, no, it
Yeah.
looks like I'm going to be a returning prisoner.
And does it make you nervous that the mask
Yeah.
mandates being lifted, things are reopening up, that this is coming to a head right now?
Yes, yes. You know, if the pandemic was to end, what they had 30 days, or how much they
Yeah.
have a certain amount of time to take us
Mhm.
back. So what am I to just say, oh, please let the pandemic continue. Let people continue to be sick. No, that's not what I want to be saying. And I will not say it. I want this pandemic to end. I want our country to get back to what it was, but I want to be out and involved in it. I don't want to go back to prison. I
Yeah.
don't want to. My mother's 94 years old. I don't want to tell her, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I just don't believe that this is what society wants. I don't think society sees me as the same person that I was in 2004.
I think that's right.
You know, and I don't think society would want to send me back because I think they see that I'm contributing.
Yeah. Stacey, let me ask you, what do you wake up feeling, do you feel like you can get on, or you feel like you have dread hanging over your head, or, what does it feel like? I'm sorry, you broke up. Did you hear me? I'm sorry.
No. What
Okay,
did you
I
say?
asked, I asked, what does it feel like for you now? When you wake up, do you feel a cloud over your head? Do you feel like you're free, or, are you worried about
No.
going back?
You know what it kind of reminds me of? When I was little, I almost drowned. And under that water, and you can see the sunlight up there, so you know you have to go up to get to the sunlight. But your feet just keep slipping, and you just can't seem to get traction. So therefore, it's like you just to get that breath. When we go, like Gwendolyn said, there's the light at the end of the tunnel, and you're going for it. And then all of a sudden, like I said, for me, it's almost like the water went over the tunnel. I'm not going to lie about it. I cried, and I still cry because it's so hard to understand and comprehend how they can do this kind of stuff to people. How can they keep making you feel like, you're headed to the light in the end of the tunnel, and then all of a sudden, what are they shutting that door on that light on us? How fair is that? And it plays with their minds and their emotions, and families. It has hurt them to the bitter core, and it's just destroyed families. And if they send us back, how many more families are going to be destroyed? How many more children are going to be out there saying, I want to take my life because my mom or my dad had to go back to prison? After how long? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, it isn't right and it's fair.
Well, let me, there's a couple questions that have come in I want to address. People ask about how you get notified if you're being released to home confinement. Your counselor tells you they're looking to see if you meet the requirements under the new memo. So it's not really something you can apply for. You can ask for, but the Bureau of Prisons makes that decision. That's not like compassionate release where you file a motion for that. Somebody asked if someone meets every criteria in the memo to be approved, who makes the ultimate decision? Well, your warden makes the decision about whether you meet the criteria. If you miss one of the criteria right now under the new memo, they can send it to the national office to see if they could waive that one condition for you. And they'll do that usually in the case where you have extra health concerns. If they're worried about your susceptibility to COVID, then they'll weight that a little heavier. But with cases declining right now in the prisons, that's going to be a little harder. I just want to, I think we can wrap up early because I think we're making the points that I really think that's important for people to hear. What I want you to do, if you could, I've asked the questions I thought that were relevant. And I thank you both for being advocates and speaking out about this. Gwen, I know you've been doing a lot of interviews. Is to just, if President Biden were listening and you had 2 minutes to tell him that he needs to change this, what would you say to him? And I'll start with you, Gwen.
What was the purpose of the CARES Act? It had a purpose, and I think that sending us home and allowing us not to contact the virus, sending us home where we can be healthy, and allowing us to participate in our communities is what the CARES Act was supposed to do. So please resend that memo because it serves no purpose, none whatsoever. It just doesn't serve a purpose.
And Stacey?
I would have to totally agree. What was the purpose of the CARES Act if you're not going to use it? Please, President Biden, consider, put other people's shoes and try to have empathy with us and our families and everyone around us. Just do something that is good for us. And just have compassion.
Kevin, could I also add to President Biden? He has the authority to even if it doesn't get rescinded, he has the authority to take some other steps to release us to compassionate release, to release us to clemency, to pardon us, to reduce our sentences to time served. He has a lot of options. And I just wish he would avail himself of some of those options if he doesn't feel the need to rescind this memo.
I agree. I just want to close by saying the same thing, which is, we have, weighed in. The Congress has weighed in. There's been hearings where members from both sides of the aisle have spoken out about the need to fix this. We've asked them to rescind the memo. We have said if you don't rescind the memo, use the authority you have to fix the situation. And so there's no excuse. They have the authority. And this administration has changed a lot of policies of the previous administration that they have disagreed with. And this is one that they need to. And again, they need to do it now. This idea that you all should wait for months to decide whether or not you're going to have to be separated from your families again is cruel. It's heartless. It's counterproductive. It does not help people re-enter society when they don't know if they're going to have a roof over their head in 3 months. And so I just thank you again for speaking out. Thanks to the Congresswoman. I want to make just sort of a programming note that this is the last Heart to Heart for, we're going to be taking a break during the summer and we'll come back in the fall. And so with that, thank you again for our guests and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Kevin, for all that FAMM is doing. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you, Gwen. All right.
Thank you. God bless.